Welcome to MOOC Cartographic Techniques Practical. Let us know about the history of cartography. Astronomy first mapping tool in Indian cartography, where you have positioning and then time related and location related observations were recorded. And positioning, you have nakshatras. Nakshatras are fixed things in the sky that will help us to understand that all the terrestrial as well as atmospheric operations are fixed. Then you have time related. Time measurement is very precise to global level. Therefore, you have the hora and lunar, solar and Jupiterian and Saturn related things are measured. So, you have time periods. Also there is Ayanamsa, wherein we have 72 years, 19 years cycles are also told. Therefore, the cartographic changes are recorded in our Indian system very carefully. Then there is a location related things etc. are very well detailed in our astronomical characteristics. So, there is what is called the zodiac, 12 signs of the zodiac, that is divided into 108 divisions, and further it is divided, each 108 division is further divided into 9 divisions like that etc. You can have position of a person born or anything born can be recorded. And very interestingly, this knowledge was there in the Pacific Islands for the people who go for fishing. They have this put on the mast of their boat, and they use the shells to indicate where the fish available, where the currents are very strong, where the waves are very strong. Those measurements are there in the mast. See, look at it. So, the type of sticks used and the types of shells used, they have the cartography. It is a mobile cartography that they have on the boat, very interesting. So, cartography has got native knowledge both Pacific, whole of Asia, especially in India. Indian cartography started with a celestial sphere, and then there would be a geocentric, heliocentric and also other centric aspects are analyzed with reference to cartographic mapping. And we have a very excellent knowledge of 3-dimensional mapping. So, our Indian cartography has 9 different directions, these 8 directions of horizontal, and then there are 2 more directions, one is upward, another one is downward. Downward direction is called Ananta, upward direction is called Brahma. Therefore, you see we have an excellent knowledge of GPS principles in the old system of measuring with 10 directions. Very interestingly, our maps existed in a different method like Mahabharata. Mahabharata, you have 64 nations recorded. Extreme northwest nation was called Kandara, now the present Afghanistan. Like that, you have different nations are recorded. Some of the very important locations are marked in the map, as you can visualize. There are places, spiritual places as well as historical sites at Hastinapura, and where the war happened for a long time, Kurukshetra, all other places are recorded in that one. Therefore, there was Dwaraka, there was Banaras, all those things are recorded in the Indian cartographic tradition. And our traditions are, because those days we do not have this paper, we do not have that organizing into a very lightless things etc. Therefore, there were scriptures, there were other things etc. that was recorded in our mapping. So, mapping was done without a paper, without sometimes certain tools. The first was called a verbal tradition. In the verbal tradition or a oral tradition, there were a lot of lyrics were framed. So, when they go for a expedition, the lyrics will tell about where the position is, where the wind direction is, where the temperature changes are, etc., etc. Therefore, lyrics related or description related or poem related, or in Sanskrit and Tamil there are mantra related, mantram. Therefore, they will chant the mantra, by that they will identify the place and the location like that, etc. Then the other tradition is relating to travel different places, because you have spiritual places spread all over India. These spiritual places are to be reached by the travel tradition. Therefore, they have a travel maps, and wherever they go in the traveling, they travel a long distance. Therefore, there would be resting places. These resting places are called Chatram in Tamil, Saltri in other languages. That is also to be recorded and then put on the tradition. Then the third principle is river navigation we have. Therefore, as you know very well, this river navigation as well as the navigation purposes by the kings, etc., campaign for resources and campaign for expansion of their territory. They have the maps recorded. Therefore, they know what would be the cartography, what is the topography, what is the hydrology, what is the atmospheric consequences of all those traditions. Then most of our cartography things are relating to spirituality. So, Adi Shankara's contribution is very great, because he travelled all over India in 4 different directions. In all directions he has recorded what are all the spiritual places, and he established mutts in the 4 corners of India. That speaks about our cartographic knowledge in the world. As you know very well, each place is located in a different direction, each place has got its own seasons, each place has got its own resources. All these things are fairly recorded, and therefore, there is a traditional knowledge on spirituality with relate to our cartographic knowledge. We have a great contribution in the name of the Panchanga. Panchanga means Pancha Anga, 5 organs, but it has got more organs than 5 organs, and these 5 organs are relating to movement of the sun, movement of the moon, and the distance between moon and sun, and application of the moon and sun together, etc., is being measured. But it is more than that, because that is what our modern ephemeris, which record the position of all the nakshatras, grahas, or in other words the planets in our solar system are recorded very precisely by calculating it. And it has got the advices for both agriculture and the seasons, in what season, when the rain will happen, when the wind will blow, when there would be a change, etc., is recorded in the Panchanga. It is almost error free. Then you have the spiritual things, etc., because Indian culture is related to many cultural activities and there are traditions. Therefore, organization of the festivals, organization of all these coronations, etc., is when, what is the time when it is related. Therefore, if there is a excessive rainfall, that is not a good season, excessive heat, that is not a good season. So, those are all recorded very precisely on that one. Then you have political and social changes are also fairly predicted and recorded on it, and we do not know how they predicted, some of them identified with the truth. Then you have what is the overwhelming of this particular year. For example, in Indian tradition in agriculture, you have 3 years agriculture cycle and 7 years agricultural cycle. So, these are all the atmospheric changes which was recorded in our Panchanga. Who is ruling the world now this season? Is it sun, or it is moon, or it is some other planet? Therefore, accordingly the seasons would change like that, etc. So, the Panchanga is a great solution for understanding our cartography in terms of measuring agricultural operation in terms of making use of ephemeris and fixing the position of the person born in the world. Then one of the great contribution is our southern king Cholas, Rajaraja or Rajendra. They have contributed in the marine cartography, maritime cartography, cartography relating to ocean measurements, cartography relating to understanding the rivers. Cartography is creating artificial lakes. These are all the great contributions by our Chola kings. They have the navigational technologies, they get the stellar understanding, then they have the coastal knowledge, then they have the island knowledge, then they have the knowledge of the currents, knowledge of the winds, knowledge of the currents relating to fresh water, and knowledge of the islands where what kind of resources are available, knowledge of the islands where what kind of the animals are available for hunting. Therefore, their campaign through the ships were so quite successful. They were the rulers of the whole of Southeast Asia at one time with a cartography of maritime cartography. We have a knowledge, the great Aryabhatta was born in India. Aryabhatta is a person able to understand the rotation of the earth, the shape of the earth and the size of the earth, and also the inclination of the earth. All those things are most important in geodetic surveys, which is the basic principle in cartography. So, the basic geodesy is based on our Aryabhatta knowledge system, and also he invented the spherical geometry, trigonometry. These are all the most important things on deriving the spherical space into a flat surface. So, the contribution of Bhaskaracharya are the great things for our cartographic measurements, converting into angles, converting into radians. Initially, long back 10,000 years or 5,000 years back, the maps are drawn on the rocks. So, they use different colors, especially outnumbering the colors are mostly red and green. Red and green colors are used to make a paint of their places, their spiritual places, their prayer places, their food places, then the places where they can get a dip in the water. All those things are there both in the Hindu tradition, Jain tradition, Buddhist tradition. Therefore, these are all the rock paintings and rock carvings where the maps are produced initially. Also, as you know very well, temples, there are inscriptions in the temples. When you go to the temple, you can see the pillars have a different inscription, the walls have a different inscription, each will talk about the different things etc., where the cartography is printed, which you can convert into a map on a paper. This is all about as we have seen earlier, the Pacific Islanders, they have a mast. In the mast, they have all traditional knowledge system is put in the form of the sticks and shells. And we have a lot of ancient civilizations other than India. Normally, all our textbooks talk about Roman civilizations, Mughal Islamic civilizations, Greek civilizations etc., and the cartographic knowledge of the printed textbooks are limited with all those sources etc. There are great traditions like Chinese and then Indian civilizations. The Chinese knowledge system and the Indian knowledge systems are overwhelming in a cartographic knowledge, which is being explored and recorded in the near future. So, the models of development, there are we can identify two great models. One is the evolution, where the evolution is related to with more human race. Therefore, the knowledge system is growing in a different direction. Then there is a revolution. In the revolution, they invented several techniques like in India, you have in Delhi and all other Jainese areas, you can find the Jantar Mantar. In the Jantar Mantar, the observations are made making use of those Jantar Mantar equipments, etc. Then we have precision equipments, you are able to see about the planets and other things, etc., like that, etc. Then the modern technology came, then you have lot of other instruments are invented. Right now, as you know very well, you have telescopes, you have satellites, you have all other remote sensing things like microwave, etc., which are able to identify the locations and places and organizations of that. Therefore, the revolutions on methodology, revolutions on equipments, revolutions on tools changed the technological aspects of cartography. So, cartography has gone in a big way, but the basic principles of the 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 1-dimensional objects are still used. So, the orienting the world is also highly debatable, orienting the world in the east also debatable. So, those are all the many times, as you know very well, orienting eastern direction is oriental. So, in the Chinese and the Indian knowledge system, our primary direction is east. With reference to east, all other things are oriented. Whereas, in the western principle like Greek, etc., orientation is always from the north. Therefore, the modern maps are invariably produced with the orientation of the north, but there is nothing like that. You can have a orientation on the eastern direction, you can have a orientation depending upon that. This orientation was debated by the Australian cartographers. When you look at the Australian cartographic maps, they will put center of the earth as Australia. Same way, the center of earth in the Indian tradition is Ujjaini, which is Mahakaleshwar temple in Ujjain, which is what the modern geodetic center of India, which is nothing but Kalyanpur. So, there is a lot many changes took place in the history of geography in the world as well as in India. So, you have prehistoric traditions in India, where the hunters and the spiritualists have carved images on the walls and paintings, and then you have medieval period, where you have lot of poems are, where lot of mantras are invented, where lot of symbols are identified. So, with that the cartography was made. Then you have a modern cartography in India, which is from 8th century onwards, 8th to 12th century onwards. This become very important. The contributors are mostly Cholas, Guptas and Jain people. So, they have contributed great for our modern cartography and measurements, etc. And in the western cartography, there are travelers. These travelers are capable of bringing a discovery in map making. Therefore, they invented a lot of scriptures, and the earlier cartographic maps are called calligraphy. Therefore, there are map writers or calligraphists. They have to draw very nice letters and symbols, and they are the cartographic products were the resources of the kings. Nobody can use it. There was a law in the western countries, if any map is found in the civilization. So, therefore, the conclusion is cartography, the Indian and Chinese tradition is not second to any of the other traditions, which is very well known like Greek and western cartography. More than that, we have a lot of things in the Indian cartography that has to be explored, and we have to try to create our own knowledge system in the modern cartography. We have to invent lot of tools and techniques for revisiting our Indian cartography. What is our observation? Our observation is cartography is world spread. It originated in several places. One of the very interesting thing that we have observed in Pacific, very isolated islands, this cartography was a great knowledge system for their fishing, for their development of their boats, for the development of travel between the islands within the Melanesia, isn't it? There are tiny islands, therefore, traveling from one island to the another island, they should know the direction, they should know the wind speed, they should know the currents, etc. That was printed on our mast with the shells and sticks. Very great knowledge system that they had. Same way, Indian system, as you know very well, the Mauryas, Guptas and Cholas, they have the system of organizing this both in the land, both in the rough territory like Himalayas and other places, and also the whole of oceans. Their knowledge of cartography of rough topography, plain cartography, riverine cartography, ocean cartography, coastal cartography is highly laudable. We have an excellent knowledge system that we have to revisit, cherish ourselves. We have great contributors to the cartography. Most of them are anonymous, unknown, but their contribution is very great. In the modern last 2000 years, there are very great names are known to us. There are many spiritual leaders and also leaders relating to astronomy like Aryabhatta, Bhaskaracharya. All those people have contributed greatly to our cartographic knowledge system. Thank you very much.